All right, so
Yay!
this is our first podcast recorded since Bird moved. So it's been a while.
Yes.
We're still trickling out due to technical difficulties, but as of the time that we're recording this, it's probably been like 3 or 4 weeks or something. It's been a decent chunk. So time has passed, and the world has changed.
Moderately.
Not really.
It always changes. You can just always say that. It's like how you can end. It's like how you can end all statements but at what cost? Just to add drama for no reason.
$12.
Hey,
Sup?
I'm gonna buy these eggs, Keith. But at what cost?
Probably like $1.50.
$2.19. How much eggs cost? I'm always caught
They're
up
my
by
bad
how
joke. Just
they're always cheaper than I think they are. It's always the surprise with them.
Well, it depends on how many eggs you're buying. Are you buying like a standard 12 set, or are you buying like?
I'm buying 18 eggs.
When I go to a dozen, I'm always like,
that. Go straight for 36 eggs for life. They don't actually decay nearly
Can
as
you
fast
even
as
buy
the expiration
36
dates.
eggs?
Yeah, you can.
Or you can just raise chickens
I mean,
like
you could
I
just
am.
do math.
Yeah,
It'd be
but
pretty
I mean,
easy to get
I
to
can't raise
36.
chickens. I'm in a dorm room. Oh, yeah, I could just buy 2 packs of 18 eggs, huh?
Yes.
At what cost?
Twice.
3 times the thing of 12.
But we're buying them in 18.
Or are we? But at what cost?
At what cost?
Idiots.
All right,
We're all
so,
idiots. Why do we do this?
I'm just doing what everybody else is doing. It's
That's how I got here.
yeah.
Shit.
I'm just
Worked
trying
out.
to fit in.
Are you?
Oh man.
No.
You don't
you've
strike me
never
as the
tried to
kind of
fit
person
in.
that tries that at all.
If I did, I probably wouldn't be doing a podcast because I'd have friends.
Yeah.
But if you weren't doing this podcast, how often would you talk to any of us? Maybe Keith.
Probably about as much as I talk to you guys when we're not doing a podcast.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Well,
I don't know what you
that's a
wanted
social
at the end
dude
of
right there.
That's
For people who don't know, we don't
no.
talk at all.
We have a chat room we talk in.
This is their weekly get together time.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just like, hey Andrew, nice to see you.
It
what have
sometimes
you been
feel
up
like
to?
I'm.
It's
It
not
sometimes
even
feel like
nice.
I'm taking the kid over to like the ex-wife's house
Yeah.
for the weekend.
I feel like I would be that kid that neither parent wanted custody of, but they couldn't just both give up for adoption because that would look bad for them. So like they both just decided to deal with it.
Oh no.
Like
What
that's
sort of reality does that ever reflect?
I mean, it's half of my reality, or actually, it's
Oh.
half of my sister's reality.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah, because my mom wanted
You
her,
have
my dad
a
didn't.
sibling?
So yeah, I have a sibling. I have 6 siblings.
What?
Yeah.
How did none of them
What?
murder you?
Well, I don't live with any of them.
I think you had a similar reaction when you found out that I had a sibling.
I think you
was
did,
less
yeah.
bewildered. You were at least moderately adjusted to society.
Because you found because human.
I mean, if you
Yeah.
want to be
That's
accurate,
okay.
3 of them don't know I exist. So
Oh.
Wait,
mean,
Huh. How do you know they exist, but they don't know you exist?
because
have, like,
I'm
a
a fucking adult.
is your house
and
behind
their
a one-way
children?
mirror?
Oh, I see. That
Oh,
makes
so
sense.
you mean like half siblings, not like direct
Secret
blood
siblings?
relations. Well, like
Yeah,
you know,
I
both
mean,
Is this like
They're-
secret
yeah.
family drama being outed on the internet?
I have 1 direct blood sibling and then 5 half siblings.
Are they quantum siblings?
Uh,
They only
think
exist.
one of them
you
is.
can't determine
I-
if they exist until you observe them.
I don't know if one of them actually exists, but
So the answer to that is yes, apparently.
yeah, it might be a
I
quantum
got more
child.
confused as that went on.
Those are the best explanations, right?
Yeah.
All right.
What in the
Anyway,
world?
so it's been 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I mean, everyone has a crazy amount of topics to talk about, I assume, right?
Yep.
Sure.
Sure.
I mean, not me, because I
Time
haven't
f-
been playing video games for
Time
like a
for
month
no
and a
one to
half.
say anything.
I have played a lot of board games, though, lately. Like, the past 2 weeks, I've been playing almost nothing but board games, so I could talk about that if we wanted to.
at this point, half of the games I have to record are JRPGs. So it's like I don't
Yeah,
know. I'm having
Lots of
fun with
anime.
them.
I feel like I've
Yeah.
been really backed into that too.
Yeah,
It's because indie games especially are like super hit and miss. In AAA, you get like a burst in the spring, and then mostly in the fall, winter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, like, you're not going to get a whole lot of AAA. Like, when's the next AAA game coming out that we actually give a shit about?
that we give a shit about? Oh, that's a
let me
different
check my
question.
let me check
Probably
my
not till the end
Google
of the year.
calendar.
Yeah.
Because like Technomancer comes out in a couple of days,
But that's
and
definitely
I
double
looked
A.
at. Well, Blitzkriegler sent me like a short clip of, well, not Blitzkriegler. Was it? I don't know, Kart Gaming maybe.
Yeah.
Sent me a short clip of him playing it. And it was just like, this looks like the just crappiest game.
Yeah,
So I'm
it's
like,
from the
alright.
people who made Mars Warlogs and Bound by Flame. Of course it's shit. I'm going into it
You know,
knowing
I
it's
was-
going to be shit.
I was hoping it
I'm
would
gonna
be
marvel
better
in it.
than. I was hoping it was going to be better than Bound by Flame. It's
My
not.
understanding is
and
it's actually a sequel to Mars Warlogs for some reason.
Oh,
They for some
delightful.
reason thought that game needed a sequel. It's going to be fascinating.
Does
we have
anything they make me
we have
War
Abduction coming
Logs.
out, but that probably counts as double A or indie. No Man's Sky is indie. Wait, that's not coming out in August anymore, is it?
No.
Let's
No.
delete that bookmark. Deus Ex Mankind Divided comes out August 23rd.
Okay, that makes
That's
sense.
probably the
Wow.
next one
Is
I
that
can think
yeah.
of.
Is that a sequel?
Yeah,
or a
so you were
prequel?
right. Like it's
It's a
August.
That's
Well,
a sequel
Human
to the
Revolution
prequel.
was a prequel. This is a sequel to
Mhm.
that.
Stop.
The new
Just
games take
fucking-
place before the old games.
Why can't people tell a story like, the right way, where you start at the
Well, it's
beginning
different
and then you
people.
end?
It's completely different people.
Yeah,
that's
I know,
the thing.
but
Yeah,
I'm
it's a
saying that,
completely
like,
different studio.
If you pick up the IP, then just like start from the next point. Don't make up a starting point.
I
I
don't
think it
know.
sometimes comes
I don't
down
have
to
a
the
problem with
idea
prequels.
that when you have a world, you have the background story of what happened.
that hasn't been told.
Yeah, you have
Yeah.
the setup of the world that your fantasy or
Mhm.
sci-fi world takes place in, and sometimes that backup story sounds more interesting than going forward. So you just set it in that instead.
And
Kind
then
of like how
chances are,
isn't Mass Effect Andromeda going to take place during the original war between the?
No,
It's
it's
not?
after.
Okay.
It's
I think-
way after. Like
think that was just a
couple
rumor
hundred
at
years
one
in the
point.
future.
At some point,
Yeah.
people thought the next Mass Effect might be humans making first contact with the Turians, which would be
Nope.
like a fun
It's-
premise for a
It's
story.
about them going to. It's about them going to like a completely to the Andromeda,
Andromeda.
galaxy
I
because
assume.
according to the trailer at least, like our galaxy is dying, so they're like, let's go over to the other one because
okay.
Just the whole thing, like it's
Yeah.
got galaxy
Like, I
cancer.
guess
Well-
you could just say that. I mean, you don't have to back it up, I guess.
Our
but when
galaxy
you say
is
when you
dying.
say that's something of that scale, when you're like, our universe is dying, it's like,
That's
okay.
like you expect that line to be spoken by Optimus Prime or something.
Yeah, like it sounds-
Do as I command.
Our world is dying.
Yeah, it's like, our galaxy is fading. We must go somewhere
Oh,
else.
No Man's Sky is coming out in August.
What? I thought you
Yeah.
said it was going to be delayed. What the fuck? Make up your
no,
mind.
he said he's not sure if it's going to be delayed.
Oh,
again.
okay, because he doesn't own a game studio
I-
that knows when the game's coming out.
When I heard it was delayed,
know,
I just assumed it was delayed until
To
like
be totally
December.
honest, I'm okay with them delaying that as much as possible. But it
You
still
say that.
might not save the game. No,
You
no,
say
it's
that,
cool.
and
It's
then the
one of
game
those
comes
things
out
that so
20
many-
years from now.
Well, No Man's Sky
I've
and
got so
Abduction
many
are
other
both in the
games to
same
play.
camp of being like a small studio with making kind of
That
a
is
big
way
game.
too much success.
They have like kind of a big game going on, but ultimately it's like it's done
Really
when it's
hyped.
done, and no one can
Mhm.
make them put it out at any particular time. So they
That's
just
not true.
so
That's
it's
what all
like
the
somebody
death threats
working
are
on
for.
their next album where they're just sort of
Okay,
like
I
giving
gotta-
you a
I
vague
gotta
idea.
admit-
Like
It
we
kind
think
of
it'll be
reminds me
done
of
on
old school
Thursday.
Blizzard.
Yeah, exactly.
The
Actually,
worst
Like 90s
part
Blizzard.
about the worst part about No Man's Sky is everybody that's talking about it. I wish
Oh, yeah.
they never
Well.
had. I wish they had never shown any trailers.
oh yeah.
Participated in E3 or anything like that. I wish the game would have just put up like a Steam
I
page.
guarantee
PlayStation
you
page.
right now that No Man's Sky is going to be on a lot of people's like most disappointing game of 2016 list.
Yep.
Well, it's been hyped as
yeah.
shit, so.
Just because you heard mostly because and the funny thing is like the company themselves didn't even hype it that much.
No,
They just
it's
glimpsed
just such a compelling
like the audience.
project.
It's literally the internet itself hyping it, and that's it. Like no
Mhm.
one,
Yeah.
no, it's not like it has a massive marketing budget or anything. But it's
Mhm.
just that they were. It was the Destiny problem where they're just vague enough about what the fuck the game is that for a
Right.
year people make up their own definitions of what the game is.
Yep.
right.
That's,
like-
yeah, there's like people who keep telling me to buy it. I'm like, I will buy it when someone tells me what the fuck the game is about. Because
I
like,
mean, it's about exploring
It's
space and you
pretty
have
space
infinite
game.
planets.
is it though?
and-
Because
Like-
some
like
people
the-
say there's fighting, and some people say there's no fighting, and some people say you
Mhm.
can meet each other, and some people are like, you can never meet each other; it's too big. I'm like, well, can you jump to
My
players?
understanding is that was itself also misleading because my understanding is that you just can't ever see each other.
And if that's the case,
weird.
then I don't want to play it because then there's
Like,
no.
here-
does it even have an
Here's how
internet?
they explain
Like a
multiplayer in this
thing?
game, like how
It
the world
does.
works, is that they'll say, like, if you wipe out the population of this organism on this planet, that organism won't be there for other people when they get to that planet, and stuff like that.
When
like-
do they?
But
get
if there's
that
like
planet?
infinite
never-
planets, how often are people going to run into the same planet?
Well, the idea is that it's all one living universe that is continuous, but there's no
Right.
apparent indication that you'll ever see another human ever, period, even if you
So-
stand in the same place.
Mhm.
Yeah, so if I log off and then come back on 10 years later, will the planet still be there?
Yeah.
Will the server still be there?
Well, you know what I mean. Like, if I log off for an extended period of time and I come back, like, can you destroy a planet? Because if that's the case, then what happens if I'm on the planet?
You might be able to destroy a
Like-
planet. Probably not, actually.
So-
That probably has some concerns for the gameplay, but
Yeah.
the idea is it's all supposed to be continuous, and it's all supposed to, like, it's
So
like the game's
you guys-
procedurally generated, but it's not being procedurally generated. It literally is procedurally generated, like before
Yeah.
you play it. So it's all one universe for everybody, but it's huge.
They've been tweaking that right now. So, did you guys actually watch any of the developer interviews a year and a half ago, or is
No.
this all just like
Oh, no, no,
hearsay?
no.
That's
I
all
watched-
just
I watched-
with the internet.
It's all
I
hearsay.
watched interviews a year and a half ago, and
Which
I
means that
subscribed to an obscene amount of video game podcasts where other people talk about this stuff, and probably one of the
So we're
best.
technically part of the problem.
Yeah,
Yeah, we are.
like one of the
Okay.
best people to
I'm
listen
used
to
to it.
actually is as a Giant Bomb. You guys ever
Mhm.
have you guys
Yeah.
ever heard that podcast before?
Oh, yeah, Giant Bomb.
Amazing.
Amazing.
They are so fucking in depth and detailed, and they won't
Mhm.
like instead of like one of the worst things ever is the full on like enthusiast press that just like
Mhm.
regurgitates press releases at the audience basically.
Mhm.
But those guys will, in detail and rather cynically at times, just break down exactly what they think and they know about the game, and that's where a lot of my information from No Man's Sky usually comes from. Is the idea of just like, yeah, they're literally there at the place and like, what is this game? And like they were already doing this like 2 years ago of like, what is this going to be ultimately? And it's from the Joe Danger people. Like, we have no idea how this game's going to turn out. It looks cool, but yeah.
So wait, if you can destroy an organism, can't like all organisms just be killed and then the game's barren?
That
Well,
seems
there's
mathematically
so much-
impossible, basically.
Yeah, there's
It
so
is?
much in the game that
When
it's
we
kind
say
of
the game's so big, I don't mean like Just Cause 3, like biggest continent ever. I mean like it's probably the biggest
I think
game
it's
ever made.
procedurally like infinitely generated.
Not
I feel like
infinitely, but
someone's
it's like it's similar numbers to what you hear when you hear people talk about like how many stars there are in the actual universe and stuff like
So,
that. Where it's absurd.
I feel like this is an easy problem to rectify by just making a bot that goes through and systematically kills every life form on every planet for 24 hours every day. of the
I
week.
mean, even the scale.
This is an
like,
interesting
you might be able to
definition
wipe
of
out like a little bit.
that's an
but-
interesting definition of a problem and a solution. I don't know if I agree with either definition.
It's like it griefs things.
I mean,
pretty
there,
well.
there
It
has to
grieves
be-
things that don't feel.
like there has to be some limit to this world that like
Yeah.
I just don't feel like
Yeah,
the
it has a
limit is
set
as
number of
big as they're
universes.
saying.
Like it definitely has a set number of planets because it has. An
I think it's
existing
one of the most.
total.
I think it's one of the biggest procedurally generated things
Yeah.
ever.
It's like
Yeah.
it's
Like-
so big that the universe had to be tested by other bots. Basically,
Yeah.
like they had to
Yeah.
write
So-
bots to play test it because it was too much to handle with their
'cause
tiny
the developers
dev
themselves
studio.
couldn't do it.
Mhm.
So then you can't just create bots, which means you could just ruin a player experience by having a fuck ton of
You could
bots.
try.
You could
but
try.
it would be
You
probably
couldn't,
more
you couldn't
work than
fill
it's
the whole
worth.
universe with it though. The game's too big.
I don't know. It seems like a job for 4chan.
Because you'd have to have like a bunch of paid copies of the
18
game to even
quintillion
get in,
planets.
right?
18 quintillion, really? Like can you back that up? I want someone to count it by hand right now.
I mean,
Like-
the computer probably did that already.
No, I want a person to count it.
When
Don't
it made
fucking
it.
throw quintillion at me unless you can
Well, I
fucking back
mean,
it up.
you can just use combinatorics.
Nope.
Based on
It's
whatever
definitely
their
fun
seed
to
is.
it's definitely fun to hear about some of the development stuff in this game though, just because like they one of the ways that they handled like the color balance of the game because all these plants have all these different vibrant colors to them and like different colored atmospheres and plant life and everything, and they wanted to have a good balance and variety. So while they were tweaking
Right.
the algorithm for it, they had a series of bots that would spawn in random parts of the universe and create GIFs that they would upload to a screen for a monitor where they could figure out what the relative balance of colors was and try to tweak it based on that. Like that was
Oh,
their
wait.
weird auto play testing systems.
Oh, quadrillion isn't even that big.
Sure.
But
What
Yeah,
a bunch of
great.
idiots. They
Thanks,
couldn't
Andrew.
get centillion. What a bunch of scrubs. Why am I going to buy a game that can't have centillion amount of planets? Like, I'm just saying, No Man's Sky, no man's effort.
Does
Like,
anyone have a 2016 a 2016 Merriam-Webster dictionary, and can they open it up to the word facetious? I just want to see what the synonyms are.
Wait a second. Why does centillion have a Wikipedia article but not vigintillion? What the fuck? Someone got lazy.
because we've never measured a number that in Vigintillion.
Centillion is bigger than vigintillion. So why does centillion have a fucking Wikipedia page?
Have we measured anything in centillions?
I'm mostly confused by
Apparently-
why individual measurement numbers would have their own pages, as opposed to one
Centillion
page
is-
that just lists them.
Centillion is 10 to the 303rd power. Like,
Okay.
Why?
yeah, but wait, there's such a different. There's
Wait, why
such
would
a
it be
big
3
jump.
to anything?
Because like vintrillion
It's
is
not
only
3 to anything. He's talking about 10 to 300.
Oh, I misheard something.
Yeah.
but like vintillion is 10 to 63. So what the fuck? What happened to like the other 300 number?
Did anyone here play the previous games from this company?
What?
I played a little bit of Joe Danger. I mean, it was good, but
It's literally like a side-scrolling platformer.
yeah,
Like, it's neat.
It's such
it's a fun
leap
little
that
premise,
I've-
but like, it's the
Yeah.
Oh, Joe
weirdest.
Danger?
Yeah, it's the weirdest like
Yeah.
gear shift for a studio to make.
It's kind of like Joe Danger is one of those games you play it once and you're like, okay, that was cool, but then I'm never gonna touch this again.
Mhm.
And I that's why I kind of like when I heard that I was like, No Man's Sky is gonna be that thing of where I play it for like 30 minutes, I don't do anything probably, and then I go, oh, that was cool, I guess never
Well,
again.
I imagine that will probably be the experience for most of the players of this game.
There'll definitely be some people that have a very disappointing experience just because they have some false
Mental
idea
idea.
of what it is.
Yep.
Because of the vagueness and just how much time has passed since the game was originally announced, this game definitely suffers from that like schoolyard gossip thing where people are talking about how you unlock the Millennium Falcon in Smash Brothers when you're a kid and stuff like that. Like, it's just people just making shit up to fill their own gaps of knowledge. So a lot of people are going to be, by the time they get this game, and not necessarily even due to the fault of the company themselves, they're going to get this game and be expecting something completely different from what it is.
I feel like this is a thing that could be easily rectified if they just came out at a press conference and were like, okay, here's the facts. This is how it's going to go down.
Yeah.
I don't think that they really have that figured out yet because they're probably
don't-
still like
Don't talk about
alphaing
your
things.
game ever.
they're not.
No,
they
I'm
really
saying-
don't.
Don't even like
Um,
say you're making a game. Just fucking deal with it. Do it all internally in the background. Like get investors, whatever. But don't fucking talk about it to the public because like
they didn't.
then how did someone
yeah.
find out?
They
was
did
a
it at
developer.
E3 and they were like, "Hey, here's this thing."
I mean, it's
and then it
probably-
exploded.
Probably Sony, right?
No, information on
But yeah, Sony did
No
it.
Man's Sky was leaked by, I believe, another developer or a private member of the press. And once the cat was out of the bag, they're like, "Fuck."
You could deny it. Nintendo does it all the time. I mean, it's like
this is a small indie studio, and at that point, like, everybody was excited for their game, so they're like, "We're excited too," and they didn't manage the press because they didn't think everybody would go rabid over it. Now everybody hates the game. The game's not even out yet.
well,
It's kind of like
hilarious.
Spore almost.
It is
You know,
funny
all
that
it
No,
is-
it is.
I
mean,
just need a DRM fiasco to be.
it is
totally
ready
like
to
Spore
fail
again.
for all the same reasons as Spore did.
I would
Yep,
just
it
say
really is.
shut it down and try something else, and then be better at not having people talk about
It's
it. You could
fine.
still
The game will
And
come
then-
out. We'll see
yeah,
how it
we'll just
turns
shut down
out.
the company.
It'll be a
Yeah.
I know. I'm
thing.
saying you could still use the same like all the the technical aspects that you had, but just don't make it No Man's Sky. Don't make it about traveling to space or whatever. You can do something else with that amount of
Well,
procedurally
here's the
generated
thing:
technology.
people don't give a shit if people hate the game or not. All that matters to them is going to be their bottom line. Like if they
Yeah.
release a
Yeah.
shitty game that sells crazy, like in a certain sense, like
I
that's
mean,
still very successful.
I would agree, but,
especially for
like-
a small company.
like the only way they're gonna actually make a decent amount of money is only through like the PS4 venture, because I feel like through PC it's probably going to be returned super quick. Like it's probably be one of the biggest.
I mean,
I mean, I
how
don't-
many
I don't
people
expect it
actually
to-
fall through with returns, though? Like,
I don't
A
expect
lot
the
of
game
it's
to do
not
that poorly,
common.
honestly. I
I don't expect it to do very poorly either. I think it's going to be pretty lukewarm.
I don't think this is
but
going to be. I
people are
don't
gonna
think this is
return
going to
it.
be like Walking Dead Survival Instinct, where everyone's like, "Oh my god, this is actually the worst thing ever. How could this ever happen?" It's like, I just think that people will be surprised by what it turns out to be one way or another. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but it's an interesting case study on what can happen if a game is in the public knowledge for so long without enough details.
Mm-hmm.
Like it had the full cycle without even coming out yet of being a game people are super psyched about, to asking questions about, to forgetting about it for 3 months, to finding out about it again, getting psyched again, and then having the type of reaction that people give to like a movie like Frozen or something like that after it's out for like a couple months, where it's like they already hate it from everyone talking about it, except in this case it's not out yet.
Yeah,
so
I do notice.
So it has the anti-fame backlash already.
In a lot of cases, people are looking for the game to revitalize the industry. Well, not revitalize the industry, but like
the industry.
Well, sorry. You know how that there were like a lot of games in the 80s and 90s that came out and they were like absurd because nobody had ever done this before and it was so amazing and so on and so forth.
You just mean from a premise of being something fresh.
Yeah.
No, he's talking about like technically like really dazzling things.
Yeah.
Like, because what's like the biggest technical marvels of the past like couple of years? Nothing really. I mean, yeah, at Half-Life 2 with its physics breakthroughs.
Brown filters. Those are the most amazing. Look, do you see how much money is made because of brown filters exist?
I mean,
you know what? That's actually the reason why I want to buy No Man's Sky is because
it looks like an Instagram filter.
It's visually the most impressive game I've seen from a 3D basis in a while. Breached, which was a game that came out this past week, I thought was actually going to be kind of on par just visually, and then it turned out to be kind of ass. But whatever. But
we have a lot of colorful backlash games coming out all the time now, though, so it's not the freshest thing anymore.
Yeah, it's not. But
it was very fresh at the time.
Yeah. It was. Yeah, when it was announced, it was like, holy shit, this is actually beautiful. Because I think I first heard about it when I was playing the most recent Tomb Raider reboot, like within a year of that. So it's like it's been in the pipeline for a lot longer than most of the colorful games, and even then, a lot of the colorful games that we currently have are like cartoony indie things, and not a whole lot of like. You
Hotline Miami.
Not reading any actual information about it, just looking at pictures. This Breached game looks like some sort of next generation pod racing game.
It's worse than that. You just go and you grab resources, you make it caught by floaty glowy things, you go back and your character writes depressing blog posts to himself. And I was like, all right, I'm done with this. So it was not very interesting. No, Breached.
Isn't that what he does? He goes and kills people and then talks to himself?
That's what it's like when Andrew plays Factorio.
No, when I play Factorio, it's a lot different. There's a lot more slave driving going on.
Yeah, so let's
get those slave bots established.
Oh,
I think I definitely agree with what you were saying, Wander, though. Like, Skyrim, or not Skyrim, sorry. Oblivion was, like, really well known for being like, oh man, it's this huge world. Like, it's like 4 kilometers or whatever, and, like, Morrowind was really known for that. Half-Life 2 came out, and it was like, this is amazing physics and stuff. These games came out, like, 10 years ago.
Sometimes it kind of sucks to be a tentpole game, because you end up being the one that ultimately is... The biggest tentpole games are the ones that age the worst of what they do.
I don't know about that necessarily.
It's often the games that follow up on them and iterate on them that ultimately age better than the one that had that performed the idea first.
I think that like Oblivion and Morrowind have aged very well still, though. I think like the original like Call of Duties didn't age well. Like they've definitely fallen by the wayside.
I actually think
what the fuck are you talking about?
Morrowind has aged better.
I like
than
that we've
Oblivion
reacted
did.
to every statement you said, saying you're full of shit.
Morrowind,
but like you triggered a different person with each sentence.
Morrowind is just like this trash of fucking visual garbage.
Yeah, but like, I just have distinct issues with the. What's going on? No, I honestly prefer Morrowind's like trashy bad visuals in comparison to like Oblivion's attempt at like realism, and you just end up with these like weird Play-Doh people.
I mean, they both
the faces.
I'm not talking about graphics whatsoever.
What are you talking about then?
Well, I mean, he's talking about gameplay. He's talking about
technical innovations.
No, he's right. I thought of Morrowind as more of a visual innovation because Morrowind to Oblivion, barely any of the gameplay changed. It just looked nicer.
Isn't Morrowind like the first big open world RPG? practically.
Yes,
That's in, like, that's,
there was
3D.
Daggerfall before then.
Yeah, but wasn't
Stuff like that.
Daggerfall like Doom graphics?
Daggerfall
It was Doom Doom style.
Yeah.
It doesn't count.
The complexity
Ish.
level rises a bit. As shown by, isn't Daggerfall still bigger than every other Elder Scrolls game
Yes.
ever because of the fact
It's
that
bigger
it's
than
so
any
easy
other-
to make a game like that big?
In terms of like a first-person adventure, like walking around game,
Yeah.
it's still the biggest by
Yeah,
far.
Oh, yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
so low impact that you can make it almost infinitely big at that point.
Mhm.
Yes.
That's what's impressive about Morrowind is that it was actually like polygonal 3D and had to make that work.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, they designed the whole map.
It's like
but-
the other game, like Daggerfall, is just like vectors. You know,
Yeah.
It's just
Yes.
it's like easy.
it just does not hold up after time though.
Well, yeah, that's true of most games. Like even Half-Life 2 is starting
I
to be
think-
pretty dated.
Are we talking about like gameplay, or are we talking about graphics?
I mean gameplay, like
Kind of
I mean
across the
gameplay
board.
doesn't hold up very well at the end of the day. Like Morrowind is one of those like when it first came out, it was like, whoa, what the fuck? Everything's crazy and big and it's expansive. But then like now that time has gone by, Morrowind is so meticulously easy to beat without much thought put into it. Like you don't have to do 90% of the shit to just beat the game super quickly. And like getting things is not as hard as you once thought it was because there are like game breaking bugs that you can exploit to do that. And
Yeah,
it's like,
Okay,
I was
well, you
gonna-
can say that about a lot of games.
I was
like
gonna say that,
Fallout,
like-
you can do that. Fallout 2, you can do that.
I think Half-Life 2 will ultimately inevitably ages better than a game like Morrowind or Oblivion because of the fact that it's inherently not reliant on technology advancing, because Half-Life is that specific subgenre of relatively narrow shooters where you're going through hallways and buildings
Yeah,
and courtyards
Half-Life 2
and
is
stuff
just
like that.
basically a big hallway.
So it's like
very
it
linear.
doesn't have to be more impressive in tech level, and the shooting is tight and feels good and sounds good. So that makes it kind of timeless in some ways. It has a few dumb things like, oh, look at our physics gimmick. This will feel dated in about 2 years, and now it's 10 years later. So it's really feels
that's
weird.
true.
Yeah.
It feels weird to point a flashlight at it now, especially. But a game like Morrowind or Oblivion, like after you get to the point where you're playing like Witcher 3 and stuff like that, at some point you're like, I'm not impressed by these things anymore. Like it's like, oh cool,
Yes.
that guy's always at this building at 6. Great. He's a horrifying plastic-faced monstrosity that never feels like a human and won't stop shouting at me every time I walk by because I triggered his like proximity shout at the player dialogue thing, and like nothing, everyone's a creepy plastic man.
it's
And
that
like
thing
the
of
story's
like,
bland and flat, and everything's so optional that nothing can have impact.
I think like at the end of the day, I appreciate the things that Morrowind did and games like it, where it's like, okay, we pushed boundaries and we did something new. Okay, cool, I appreciate that. But like the game itself is not to be held up and revered. It's the company who invented that thing. Like the game didn't do anything because
Unfortunately, the company is like getting worse.
Yeah, but it's like the company is the one who did that, and props to them for pushing the boundary there.
Yeah.
But like the game doesn't hold up after time. No matter what innovative thing it did, it doesn't hold up to time.
Which
so
and
like
this actually kind of goes back to my original point about like the tentpole game being like the big innovator being the one that doesn't ultimately age as well. Because like
Yeah.
I'm talking about games
was I playing
replacing stuff
recently?
like Morrowind. And yeah, Morrowind
was-
brought the thing about basically, but it's hard to focus on it anymore. Even its own franchise overshadows it.
I was playing something recently that was like really revered as like the greatest game of its genre at the time, and like really like brought a whole new thing. And I was playing and I was like, this just feels like X but worse. And then I realized it's because it came before that
Oh,
and
yes.
like set the stage.
Are you talking
And I'm
about
like,
Doom?
I'm one of those dirty gamers that can't recognize these things.
Oh yeah.
And it pissed me
It'll
off.
be like if I ever try to play any old Final Fantasy with zero perspective of why that particular game mattered
I think
at
that was
the time.
I think that was it actually. I was
Yeah.
playing
What?
Final Fantasy X and I was like, this is bad compared to like all the other ones I played. And then I'm like, I'm an idiot. This was like the first 3D fully voice acted.
Yeah, it's like
Mostly the
one
voice
of the
acting,
most
definitely not the
technical,
first 3D.
impressive-
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like one of the most technical.
Well,
So why does
Yeah,
Final
I don't think
Fantasy
it's the first 3D.
10 like age then?
Final Fantasy X aged pretty okay. The story, the end of the story is still the worst thing to ever happen.
I mean, it's the same
But-
example I gave you before of like the first one that does the thing in the series is the one that ages the worst because it's like this is
Yeah.
the first big voice acting game of Final Fantasy. And yeah, compare
See-
Final Fantasy 13 voice acting to Final Fantasy 10 voice acting, and it's kind of baffling how incredibly bad 10 was to the point where you look at it and you're like,
But
How did someone was okay with this at the time and thought this was shippable? Like,
but the thing that's weird is that like 10 is actually still better than the sequel 10-2. Like the voice acting in 10-2 is even worse, and that's like, and not only that, the voice acting in like, it's like the voice acting and the graphics in 10-2 are so much worse than 10 that it's like, okay, well
the graphics
at least
can't be
10-2...
worse because they're the same. They're the same graphics, like the same models and the same locations being reused again.
They're different models. They definitely remade them.
Yeah, they're different. I mean, there are different models to like outfits, and like looking at outfits and going, wow, could you not make this clip everything? Like, you cannot clip the character's body. Like, that's okay.
I guess I guess they would have remade the main characters, but like you walk around and like you are on like the same airship going to the same cities with the same like townspeople that are the same little like Pac-Man talking mouths, and they're actually no, they don't have moving mouths at all. And
no,
they're like the weird like super pixelated faces and everything.
I mean, yeah, and it's it's funny. I feel like the one Final Fantasy that actually got everything right was the one I'm playing now, 14. That just got everything right. There's nothing like the way when you talk to people, their mouths move, but they don't speak words unless it's a main story quest.
14 is their most recent version.
I was going to say, do you think it's gonna age well?
I mean, I think so. I think it will age because it doesn't. They don't go into that realm.
Has a single MMO ever aged well in the history of video games, though?
WoW?
I guess it's 10 years old now, so yeah.
Okay.
WoW is aged just fine.
I guess so.
It's because WoW went for the cartoony look, unlike every other MMO ever. And
I'm not even just talking about
the
visuals. I mean, like on a mechanical standpoint, usually an MMO's out for like 4 years, and then you're like, how did anyone ever play this? Is usually the takeaway.
It wasn't until Guild Wars 2 that I think an MMO beat WoW's like mechanics from like a combat perspective. Yeah. And Guild Wars 2 failed at too much else, so it didn't matter. And then Black Desert definitely had more interesting combat, but the game itself was less interesting. So the problem is nothing has beat WoW yet, so you can't say that it hasn't aged well because nothing else has succeeded it in any way, shape, or form.
Well, okay, that's mechanically that's not true. Mechanically, EverQuest is still better than WoW. I
tried EverQuest 2. It wasn't very enjoyable.
Okay, EverQuest 2 is trash. EverQuest is a completely different game. EverQuest 2 tried to copy WoW.
Doesn't EverQuest still have more players than EverQuest 2?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
Because EverQuest 2 is immediately like a bad idea.
Yeah, EverQuest
I think EverQuest 2 pretty much failed immediately.
Yeah. EverQuest 2 failed the moment it came out. Yeah.
I'm just remembering like watching this especially dates it, is the idea of watching X play and having them having them have a review where they were comparing Guild Wars, EverQuest 2, and World of Warcraft.
This gets 2 Blarplorps out of 5.
And then like a cutout of Arnold Schwarzenegger comes up for some reason because they're trying to entertain 4-year-olds.
X-Play was so bad.
Man, I wonder what the winner of those 3 games was, huh?
Yeah, really.
EverQuest is mechanically it's so much it takes so much more effort to do anything in a good way than WoW does. Like if you're gonna play a tank, it's not as simple as going, I'm here, and then the enemies attack you. Like you have to do something to the enemies to make them give a shit about you. Like you can't just show up and be like, I made the sky bright, so now all the enemies want me. It's like, no, you asshole, you gotta touch them. Like you gotta physically make them hate you. And like EverQuest was so good about like holding aggro was a thing you had to pay attention to, and not something you could just run through a whole map and just keep flashing shit and people will chase you. And it's like, well, as long as nobody hits them, then it'll just keep chasing them, I guess. And it's like, what? No, that's not how enemies work at all. Enemies just attack anything. And like there's a lot of the way that quests were handled was so much better because in order to actually go through quests, you had to talk to the NPC. Like, you had to actually have a conversation with them.
As opposed to click on the window real quick and hit accept and then run to the waypoint.
And the reason they do that is
because actually dialogue trees?
Yeah, so you had to sit there, and so, like, the text you had to talk to them was in blue, but you didn't just repeat the whole thing. You had to ask that in a question. And so, and stuff like that is so impressive to do, given that, like, all MMOs today are just cookie cutter. Like, how can we make retards play this game easier?
It's something more like what Secret World tries to do.
it's just so frustrating. But like graphically, no, EverQuest does not hold up. It looks like a pile
obviously,
of shit.
it looks like RuneScape.
Yeah,
It came out in the 90s.
Yeah.
yeah, but
It's like 20 years old.
It
came
just
out in a
invented
time-
polygons like minutes ago.
it came out in a time where like 512 megabytes of RAM was only enough to select half of the characters to have high def models. And
512 megabytes of RAM was really expensive back when this game
it
came
was,
out, wasn't
but
it?
that's only enough to select half of the models because like there were so many models in that game that it was like, well, you need like a gig, but good luck finding that much as a 14-year-old kid. And it's
Yeah.
like, you know, like whose dad has a fucking gig lying around for a computer in the
Somebody works at
90s?
NASA.
It was frustrating because like, and there's so many graphical problems that happened and like things just, but there's so many interesting mechanics that EverQuest had that like a lot of MMOs tried but never could succeed with. Because it just, there's something about the way that they built the entire game around it. It just made it so much better. And like my favorite thing in the world is that if you carry enemies and run them to the end of the zone, the enemies will attack anything on the way back from you teleporting.
Oh
So,
yeah.
like,
So you could like attack enemy towns with overly powerful enemies that you lured there.
They like invented a word called train, and that's like where a train comes from. Is like you train to the zone where
And
you just run with
training
enemies.
was in World of Warcraft at first, but they specifically patched it out because people were destroying Stormwind.
Because it's amazing. It's the coolest thing ever when you see somebody being chased by hordes of enemies, and then you look and you go, oh, I don't want to be anywhere near that guy when he leaves the zone. Like it's like I ain't having that shit. And you could see the people that are just sitting at zone AFK. Just, you know, like, oh, I just zoned in. It took me like 3 fucking minutes because I had dial-up. And they zone back in, and all of a sudden, there's a horde of enemies that are attacking you. And you're like, oh, no, why?
This was all a mistake.
I love that. That was my favorite. There's so much just tomfoolery you can do in EverQuest that you just can't do in WoW anymore.
I found the EverQuest fanboy, by the way.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have no frame of reference for anything that he's talking about.
Can't we just be happy that Andrew's talking about something in happy tones for once?
Yeah, he's not saying like...
No, we got that on the last podcast with Doom.
Yeah, we got enthusiastic Andrew.
I still love Doom.
It's good to emphasize that every now and then, because then when you criticize something, you can't fall back on the thing of like, well, he just hates everything.
It's true.
Which happens when I criticize two things in a row.
I will say the one thing I do hate about Final Fantasy XIV is that they're super fucking family friendly, and you can't like call people out for doing bad on DPS meters. Like you can get banned for doing that, and I'm really upset about that because not only can you not download a DPS meter for the game, like you can't put mods on the game. You have to like download a separate program that reads the data. Yeah, it's like. So I'm sitting there.
That just makes it actively hard to tell whether or not your party's doing well.
Yeah. And so you can download. There's a program you can download that reads the game and then outputs the DPS meter for you. But you can't in chat tell people like, hey, you're kind of dumb and you suck at your class. Could you like not play that class ever again or learn how to play? And because it's like, oh, that's bullying. It's like, yeah, that's how you get people to be better. You tell them that they suck and then they want to prove you wrong and get better at the game. And it's like. That's why I love WoW. I love WoW because I would have a DPS meter and then someone would be doing bad and I could sit there and post a thing that had numbers showing that they were shitty and then I would point them and say, you are shit, don't ever play this game again. And then like that was it. And it's like
I've been on the other side of that and I was just like, all right, fuck this guy. I was doing a random pug for Hellfire Ramparts with Shell, who we had never done a dungeon together before, and this guy was running DPS meters, and it was like, you're not doing half as much DPS as I am, with his, like, full, what are they called?
BOA?
No. Well, yeah, BOA.
Yeah,
sorry,
BOA
I was thinking legacy
Secret
items or
World's
whatever.
$10.
Yeah, I'll pick it up.
That's noteworthy.
But so he was actively flaming her in the middle of the first shitty dungeon in Hellfire Ramparts, and then proceeded to get the rest of the party to kick her out, with me saying, like, don't do that. And, like, the problem is, like, yeah, I'm totally cool with it from a raid perspective, and I feel like, MMOs need to kind of,
I mean, that's the main reason those tools have to exist, is because raids are so tough that you need to be able to tell what's going wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
The problem with MMOs is they have two audiences they want to cater to. They want to
casual and
hardcore.
fucking core. Yeah.
Yeah, and the problem is there's no easy way to do that.
No, there isn't.
It's always been an issue. Like WildStar is like, all right, let's go straight up on the hardcore, and it fucked them so hard that its Steam release was like nobody gave a shit, and I feel really bad for them because WildStar is quite possibly the prettiest MMO, tied with Guild Wars 2, just in terms of like that visual style they aced so hard, but the rest of it was okay. But just because they couldn't get a hardcore community to stick around in the end game, it was just kind of this like barren leveling experience where you hit the end and then it's just like, well, what now? Nothing. But the problem is you can't just cater to that because, like effectively all the casual people quit because it wasn't fun. There wasn't anything at the end game for them.
I would just like an MMO that's structured in a way that encourages you to pay attention all the time. Because it's kind of a bummer how much, like, MMOs are super long experiences, and so many of them basically reward you for just sitting there and kind of mindlessly mashing buttons.
And that's kind of the thing that that's why I really still like EverQuest is like mechanically the best one, because it didn't have that like easy tool to do that. You have to be doing something all the time or you will die. Like it's not there isn't that the easy way out like with WoW where you can literally do botting on it. And it's like EverQuest wasn't that easy.
Well, I think the other thing with EverQuest though is that it didn't have any competition. So...
Well, it didn't have competition, but also at the same breath, like, you know, it's really hard to compete against EverQuest when they're doing so many things right that you would have to just copy them anyways. Like, I guess that's kind of the issue. That's why WoW existed, was like, well, we could do it better, but for more, you know, easy kids. Like, kids can play it. And it's like,
and then they did, and they destroyed EverQuest.
Yeah, but EverQuest also ran for like 13 years, so you know.
Even WoW, like in the climate it launched in, it was more hardcore at the time than it is now.
Oh yeah,
because it becomes more casual every year. Where it's like,
way
this is
too casual.
I'm just pressing buttons.
I don't know. I guess for me the casualness appealed to me even when I was raiding, because I already was like a high schooler, and I mean, high schoolers have a fair amount of free time, but I didn't want to devote more time to this game.
Well, part of the issue for me is that World of Warcraft, not even completely ignoring raiding and all endgame content, every moment of playing the game has become more casual since launch. And it's kind of rough at times. Like on some levels, it's kind of nice. Of like, oh yeah, you don't have to go to a stupid vendor and grab the individual items to physically craft with a crafting meter your poisons, so you can then poison stuff as a rogue. I'm cool with throwing that stuff away because it's kind of a hassle. But like, basic combat is so hilariously out of whack that like, we've done so many MMOs now as Let's Play shows now, where we play WildStar and Old Republic and we play World of Warcraft and stuff, and in all these cases, even when we're 20 episodes in, 30 episodes in World of Warcraft's case, we're talking like 70, 80 episodes in, and I can just kind of walk around hitting like 1 and 2 on the keyboard and walking to the next target, and I'm like, I'm not thinking at all, but the game never demands me to think, which is great for just like sitting in a chat lobby and just talking about bullshit for a few hours. But as a video game that I'd ever want to play for the purpose of playing it, it's like like it's just dozens and dozens of hours of not demanding anything of me.
No MMO has ever had more interesting just core gameplay than any single player / like, you know, small team co-op game.
But even World of Warcraft started in a pretty good spot.
Yeah,
it started okay. It's just,
I mean, that's the thing. Like, did you ever play as a rogue in vanilla World of Warcraft, just doing like PvE before, like just progressing through like solo content? Because it was great.
I was a warrior back in vanilla, and it sucked. I was terrible at it. And
so, I will say that the casualness of MMOs is actually the biggest deterrent to me as a potential customer, because it's just like, they feel like I'm not accomplishing anything when I play them.
Yeah. And it doesn't make sense, because some of the most popular things in the world for video games are really in-depth, kind of hardcore experiences.
Yeah,
that's the rise of the MOBA and all these, like, all the game, any game where the word meta comes up.
I hate that word. That word is like the reason games are not as fun as they could be.
That's interesting. What's up?
We've played Overwatch at this point. Keith, Andrew, I assume you guys haven't, right?
Nope.
Yeah, we played it, though.
So Overwatch is honestly probably a very good like departure of MOBA style like ability system first-person shooter and occasionally melee combat. And I wish MMOs kind of played like that, if that made sense. Like, a lot of MMOs kind of homogenize it so it's easy to hit the skill cap. And I think it would probably help a lot if they're just like, no, fuck it, it's like an FPS and or third-person like action combat game.
I want to see somebody make an MMO Dark Souls.
Yeah.
With a lock-on system and it like heavy hitting enemies that have like a slow animation to them and you're carefully moving around an environment. Like, it doesn't have to have Dark Souls level design because that doesn't fit MMOs, but like the combat just feeling heavy would be good.
There's like Final Fantasy 14 does like really weird but also interesting things like that. Like when you fight big bosses, they do like there's a lot of things you have to like take account for. Like bosses will do big cone attacks. But while they're doing big cone attacks, they'll also be like, by the way, you can't stand in this outer rim of the map because it's slowly deteriorating. And at the same time, if you're standing too still for a long period of time, then we'll just instantly freeze you and rock, and then also do AOE damage.
Well, they're only doing that specifically to combat botting.
And well, yeah, it's true, but at the same time, it's interesting to watch. Like there's little subtle things will happen. Like, oh, by the way, did you know if you like actually stopped attacking the main monster and just shot like this one little piece that he would actually lose health really quickly? And it's like just weird little things you can do in the game that are different. I mean, it's still monotonous and tedious because it's a fucking MMO and they're all that like that. But it's just there's like when you're doing a boss fight in that game, it doesn't feel like you're just, let me just press the number 1 and I pressed 1. Is he dead yet? Like. I don't know. There's little things that are I see what Keith's saying. It'd be kind of nice if there was bosses that would just be like, okay, and now
they actually do something instead of acting like an idiot.
I was gonna say I would actually like it if there was an MMO, use the Dark Souls system, but it's not that they're like one-shotting you or anything. They're actually reasonably easy to fight. It's just the combat feel is Dark Souls. You're just
but they don't deal like 80% of your health bar.
Yeah, I'm not saying it'd be the hardest thing ever, but just like a game that demands paying attention.
You know what I want more than
which used to be World of Warcraft.
That game would not do well.
Probably not.
I think the thing that I want the most out of any MMO is I want, before you're allowed to do an instance, you have to take a fucking tutorial to learn how to do an instance. Because I feel like
I think
like a trial run.
A mandatory quest. You have 4 companions. Standard party size is still 5, right?
AI companions that guide you through instance and talk to you like players.
And it's actually hard as shit. And you can't just face roll
that
it
would be
or rely on a friend.
That would be so much scripting that no one wants to do, though.
Yeah, but it's like
that. It doesn't happen.
But it would work
very
easily.
Like that. That's not too bad to script. Like,
but
MMO bots are easy as shit to make. So
but that's the thing. Like when people complain in WoW, like, oh, I don't really like how people are harsh about being DPS and blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, but if you knew how to fucking run a dungeon, like maybe you wouldn't be yelled at, and like it would behoove of you to like learn how to run a dungeon, and it's like. I wish that happened in like the Final Fantasy game because I wish I could just like look at people and then point at them and then go like you're fucking retarded. Why don't you learn how to play your class before you show up to the instance? And it's like, well, I'm just doing the main story. It's like, yeah, well, maybe the main story should teach you how to play because apparently you got to 15 without knowing how to do it. And it's like, but you can't do that because it's bullying. And it's like, I'm not trying to be a bully. I'm trying to just like beat them to not play the game anymore to make the game better.
To be a bully, but someone similar to you might be trying to help.
Like, no, I'm not trying to be a bully. I'm trying to better the entire game environment.
Andrew, we know your personality. You'd be one of those people in League of Legends that flames somebody for doing something you dislike, and then be like, "No, I'm bettering the environment." It's like, no. And Andrew, don't mask it as anything. You're a toxic person. Your justifications are there.
The justification isn't, because if it was there, then maybe you would be doing better at me with DPS. If you were better at me with DPS, then you could be toxic to me. But because you're not, I get to win and be toxic to you because you're bad.
Yeah,
and that's what happens.
That's not a justification, actually. Yeah,
that doesn't actually work.
Hey,
but I mean, there you go.
In life, there are winners and there are losers. And if you're not one of the winning people, then you're a loser and you get treated like it. And that's just how life works.
That's not how life works.
And this is why I don't play video games. MMOs specifically with people like you.
Well, and that's why
have
I
I
don't
ever explained
like
in
to play...
detail like the difference between old World of Warcraft and new World of Warcraft for like a rogue experience and like why it was so like shocking to me? I know I've told Wander in World of Warcraft, but I mean like on a stream. I think it's kind of it's an interesting breakdown. Like this will sound kind of like when you hear people compare dialogue systems between Fallout 4 and Fallout New Vegas, basically, where in original World of Warcraft, let's say like level 65, it's when you're progressing through the first expansion, doing quests, fighting mobs out in the open world and everything. You would go into stealth mode when you target your enemy. You'd slowly sneak up on them, and for my spec, I'd benefit from stunning people continuously. So I would use an attack called Cheap Shot, which stuns the opponent for approximately 3 seconds. We'll skim over every number because I'm probably wrong about most of them at this point for how long the time has passed. But you have your opening move. It makes them start the fight stunned. You get your attacks in. You have an automatically replenishing energy bar that goes in intervals of 20 that's going on, and all of your attacks cost energy, and some of them require combo points to work properly. So while Cheap Shot's active, auto attack is happening, and you're stabbing him repeatedly just by default. You cycle around in front of him because you have an attack called Gouge, which is a secondary stun, but it only works when you're in front of your opponent. So you wait for the exact timer of Cheap Shot ending, and you hit him with Gouge. Gouge generates a third or fourth combo point or whatever we're at that point. And so you have more combo points, but Gouge is broken by ever damaging your opponent, so now you have to stand there and just wait for a moment. And it's good for you because your energy is replenishing automatically, so you're actually getting an advantage from it, but you have to kind of pause the fight for a moment as far as damaging them or you knock them out of the stun. From that, as Gouge is running out, you can then follow up with an attack called Kidney Shot, which is a finishing move that stuns people. It does the similar effect as Cheap Shot, where you can attack them while it's active, but it has a duration based on how many combo points you had at that point. Then from there, you will repeatedly try to Sinister Strike this guy to generate combo points to hopefully be able to execute him with an Eviscerate. Now, in 2015, or 2016, and the recent times of me playing World of Warcraft, in the exact same zone as a rogue that actually has worse gear than I had back then because of how fast we've been leveling, I select a target. I hit Assassinate. My character instantly teleports 50 feet to them and kills them in one hit. And that's the whole fight. And then I do that again and again and again for 6 hours.
You got to think about the babies.
I'm just like, there's so much shit going on in the first version, and it's fun. And the second version, I just press a button and shit dies.
Yeah, but that's not because the people won't get it. They'll be losers, and no one wants to be a loser.
If you want to be really dumb now as a rogue too, as you're leveling up, you can just spam Sinister Strike, which is a normal attack that gives you combo points, and then just as your only finisher ever, use this thing called Recuperate, which regenerates a percentage of your health per second. So you have an infinite heal that you're constantly reapplying to yourself while spamming the number one attack button over and over again. So you just press 1 1 1 1 1 2 1 1 1 1 1 1 2, and you infinitely heal and never stop moving.
In perspective, when you play like PvP, it's so fucking trash because people all they do is like, oh, I'm gonna have 3 rogues, one person saps, then the other person runs off and does something. Then as soon as you're about to come back, another rogue comes over and saps you again, and then they run off. And then right before you're about to get it, another rogue comes over and saps you. And then by the time you're almost about to get out of that one, the first one comes back and saps you again. And you're like, wow, this is the thrilling.
They sound like
experience.
Real winners.
I used to run with a rogue gank squad in arena for fun. It's actually a terrible party composition because it's really easy to counter rogues, especially when you're only rogues. But it is really amusing for the enemy to come into the fight and your entire party is invisible. And they're like, where the fuck is the opponent?
Also,
and
the moment that they're touching
surprises happen.
Yeah, and then the moment they touch anything, they're suddenly stunned for like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
They're like, what happened?
The problem is that you could be rogues were really easily countered by at least 40% of the classes in the game back in older WoW, at least, were just hard counters to rogues.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh cool, I stunned them, and that's the only thing that's going to work in my favor for the rest of the fight.
And now it's a little bit easier to to just completely screw over people, because you can, if you sap one person and you just run off, then by the time that they try to find you, because that's how dumb people are, they're gonna be like, oh, let me try to find the rogue. They're gonna try to find you for a second, and you're not gonna be there because you just ran the fuck away. And then by the time they recuperate, your sap's back, and you just sap another person, and you just keep doing that and keep them flustered. Like, oh, where's the rogue? Where's the rogue?
For those that don't know, sap is essentially a crowd control ability where you basically just remove somebody from the fight. Because they get stunned for like 30 seconds, which is huge. But if anything happens to them, the sap breaks. So it's not like you can like wail on them or anything. So it's like freezing somebody in carbonite for a while.
And there's nothing that they can do to like remove sap either.
Yeah, unless they have like a escape from stun ability, like as a gnome or something. I want to say, or I think that might just be entanglement or something.
It was human.
It's human. Human has it's a racial ability, I believe.
Humans at least didn't used to have that ability. The human ability was perception, where they would spot invisible people.
Oh, you're right.
That's my OG human skills, at least, because I used to play human rogue. So I was the rogue that would hunt down other rogues because I could see them and they couldn't see me because I used the ability to just spot them.
That sounds.
It's a smart idea.
There was a lot of really cool overlapping systems in the original WoW that all worked really well together to make an interesting scenario.
But those weren't conductive.
And now
for
the
babies.
first 99% of the game is neutered to nothing, and the last 1%, if you can get to it, still isn't what it used to be. And that's the experience.
Like, the only thing that I can never forgive WoW for is the fact that they have this system where you can buy the ability to mount, and you can buy the ability to fly. But then the moment you get the fucking Draenor, they go, nah, you have to get achievements. And I'm like, no, I don't. I don't have to do any of that shit because you're trash and you should feel like trash. And they give you a fucking item in the game called, like, something feather. I can't believe what it is. Or I can't remember what it is, but it's
you're talking about the thing where like you get the flying mounts and everything, but then every time you go to a new zone, you're not allowed to fly again until you unlock it again.
Yeah, but the difference is, like, at least every time it was like, oh, you just have to pay money and get to a certain level, and then you can unlock flying again. Okay, easy. Draenor, you can't do that. You have to get 4 different achievements. And
well, the newest expansion was weird because their original plan was to never give you flying in the new zone.
Yeah, to never give you flying.
Which I kind of get, to be honest, because like
no. I don't.
I was experiencing Wrath of the Lich King in our WoW series for the first time ever because I quit during Burning Crusade and moved on with my life basically. But Lich King is like the first area is all of these ravines and valleys and narrow walkways going up these cliffs and all these elements of level design. But I could instantly fly there with nothing. I didn't need to do anything. I could fly there the moment I got there.
It ruined the level design.
Yeah,
to the point where it's like
I just look on the map and fly in a straight line to the location I need to go to.
But like the thing is
level design is important.
Well, yeah, but if you care, then you pay attention. If you don't care, then you do what other people do and just buy flying and get the shit done.
Well, I'm just saying, like an original World of Warcraft. Like there was a whole thing where you'd get to a zone. And you need to attack the enemies in that zone for your quest or whatever. And like there was a point of entry, and there was safe spots, and there was like a whole thing to how you would navigate an area on foot that would really shape the entire experience. And ever since they had Outland and flying mounts, they kind of opened up a can of worms they could never really put back in because they they put in something in the game that would throw away level design for the rest of the series. But Outland, it worked for Outland because Outland was a series of floating islands in like a weird nether space. But every expansion after Outland has been like the original World of Warcraft continents, where it's a series of zones with roads and towns and stuff like that. That feels that like they're designed to be walked through, but then they also can't take away the flying mounts because people feel like they need them forever, as shown by the revolting that basically happened in the new expansion when they tried to take them away. Now they can never go back to some of what they had before, basically.
Yeah, but they decided to be the most fucking biggest dicks about it and hide it behind the most like convoluted system ever, which is like, oh, you want to fly in Draenor? Well, you gotta get exalted with 3 different like classes in Draenor. I'm like, no, I don't. I just need fucking 5,000 gold and just throw it at some dude's face and give me a fucking flight license and I can fly. And like, I don't know why you would change that system just because I don't want people flying at Draenor. We spent a lot of time on it. Then don't spend a lot of time on it next time, you asshole. Just make half the fucking level just flat. Like, if you're like, flying is so fucking useful when you're trying to do anything like, I don't know, PvP. Like, because now people who can't spend a month trying to farm reputation for this class, and other people who are like, oh, I don't do anything all my life, I'm just gonna farm for reputation. And then you try to like do PvP, oh, you're fucked because this guy can just fly. So you could just be trying to walk around, and then this guy who fucking has no life just showed up and stabbed me in the back. Great. I'm glad.
I honestly think the whole game was better without flying in it ever.
I mean,
because now that it's in there, it creates a weird inequality between people who do and don't have it. That also creates a new problem that does, in addition to the problems that the flying has in itself for all of the level design and encounter design and everything.
But like the thing is like it's so weird that they would like getting gold in that game is so easy now compared to what it used to be. And so
I was completely blown away when I read a Dark Legacy comic about like people just max out their gold in WoW. Like that's a thing that happens apparently.
Yeah,
I mean, I remember people dropping
incomprehensible to me.
I remember people buying gold, and it was like you'd pay like $50 and you get like 1,000 gold or something like that. I don't remember the exact ratios, but
it's so nice because you can literally like max out your bank or your bank, and then you can just buy game time with that in-game gold.
Like you're playing Eve.
Yeah. Like, they implemented a system to stop gold farming, or to stop gold selling, because you can buy game time and sell it in the game, and then you get gold for that. So, like, it's a system where, like, people will buy game time and then sell it on the marketplace to get easy money, and then people who are playing the game don't want to pay for game time, will just use the money that they can easily farm and pay for game time.
I actually think that's a good choice.
It's a great idea.
It's a really good idea.
It's fucking amazing. Yeah. It just took them like 10 fucking years.
It is something that's made slightly weirder by the concept of being able to max your gold out, though.
It is, but at the same time, like,
I better buy game time because otherwise I'll just keep picking up gold that apparently vanishes into thin air because I've hit a cap.
It's so weird because gold is so easy to come by. And so anybody could just get flying. It's not a tough thing to get flying in WoW. If you're having a tough time getting flying, you're probably doing something wrong.
It's only hard if you're someone like me who, in the context of our current thing, is literally just playing the game front to back to level and not doing any side stuff or professions or like the type of stuff you would do if you were playing WoW every day. Like, I used to have the experience of like I would grind to the level first thing in the morning when I woke up as a high school kid. And then I would spend like the rest of the day just hanging out with my friends playing WoW, and which weirdly enough did not involve things that would level you up. And so that kind of gameplay style led to tons of money. But doing a Let's Play series where you just level really fast is definitely like the one way to somehow not have enough money for mount stuff all the time.
And then, we were poor as shit. It's bad.
Oh yeah,
I don't know how you guys are poor,
because we just get quest rewards and do nothing else.
Oh,
yeah.
Turns out
that's probably why.
That's just the pure math. Is that you actually you barely get enough money for mounts.
Well, yeah.
We're doing the absolute minimum.
If you're not playing in that weird way, playing normally, you can accumulate a lot of money. And so, getting flying mounts is not something like only for the privileged and only for the devout. It's like, no, anybody could do it if you just play the game right.
I mean, when the flying mounts were first introduced in Burning Crusade, you would just hit max level and you could relatively quickly just afford flying mounts. At worst, you might have been like halfway to the money you needed and might have to do some stuff to get there. It was they would just have some other thing be the big, really ridiculous, like unobtainable feeling thing. Like the Nether Drake was something you had to grind a specific faction with daily quests on every single day to get exalted with, and then eventually you'd get it, which I did, and that's a sad thing about me.
That's fun.
I played a really interesting game called Kingdom of Loathing that
Jesus. That's a self-reflecting game right there.
No, it was great. What? Have you never heard of it, or what?
I mean, in the context of me talking about resenting myself for grinding out another Drake, that immediate response sounds entirely sarcastic.
No.
Kingdom of Loathing.
So it was this amazing game. It was awesome. But their approach to having like really, really rare items was super fascinating. So like what they would do is that like they would put in these crazy quests that were totally like metagame things. Like if you cracked open the game's source code, you could find like clues to like find things in the game world, and then you would go find them. And then like when you got there, it'd be like, here's this really badass item that only you get. And I've never seen a game have the balls to do something like that.
Unique items.
No, because it wouldn't work for most games. I know. I realized I've been reading a number of like Japanese light novels recently because they're free to read and I have nothing better to do half the time.
Okay. Interesting.
They're fun, but a number of them are about like MMOs and stuff. And after reading them, I'm like, I've realized why specifically I don't like MMOs anymore. It's because these are the games that I want to play, where it's like super immersive and there are unique items and like crazy quests and stuff like that. I'm like, because we will never have these things, I might as well just read books about playing video games instead. And that
sounds like you're reading like Sword Art Online.
No, it's let's see. Oh shit! What
does it involve? Virtual reality?
Yeah, of course it involves virtual reality. Let me figure out.
It's either Sword Art or Dot
Hack.
It's not
Sword Art Online or Dot Hack. It's neither of those.
No, it's probably by the same guy though. He has like a long
Korean. No. It's Korean. The one I'm specifically thinking about. Moonlight Sculptor. There we go. That one's actually really good. It's about this like greedy asshole that plays an MMO as a gold farter. Gold farter.
I mean, that's one
way. He's like a gold farmer, and he's like looking for really rare items to just sell on a cash shop because he never completed high school. So it's like, well, I'm really good at playing MMOs. What else am I gonna do? So like the entire thing's about him just being like a greedy asshole, but like in MMOs, to make the most amount of money, you do like as many quests as you possibly can. So he more or less is just this like super altruistic guy because he ends up getting like a ton of money from everybody for doing things. And it's actually really fun to read because, it's as though you took like, an MMO and made it into this like living, breathing, interesting world. And I'm like, yep, we're never going to get that. I'm just going to feel kind of bad about myself for a bit.
I actually know a couple of people in real life made a living for a little while,
man.
Or at least made all their money by farming for stuff in video games.
I mean, one of my neighbors did that for a while, where he would people would pay him.
In that case, we're talking about the same person.
Oh, Billy?
Yeah. I mean, Billy, I think also used to make a living. He used to make a bunch of money, maybe not a living, but he used to make a bunch of money by off of the Diablo 3 marketplace while it existed.
Yeah, he did do that too.
He used to farm for items and sell them for money, and he actually made a lot of money that way.
He made a lot of money doing it. I will say, if there's one thing about that guy, is that he can find a way to profit off of like the most amount of time sink possible.
It's it's the least efficient way to make money because of how time consuming it is to do that kind of stuff.
Like, it's so weird.
Straight up
that
there with Let's
so
Playing, where it only kind of works out because you're kind of enjoying it, but damn if it doesn't take up all of the time. Like your work and your play fuse into one object that consumes the entirety of the not sleep time.
Yes.
And that's how you make money
it's
on
enjoyable,
Diablo 3.
I've had way more fun being a Let's Player, though, than I ever had working for, like, Nickelodeon. Like,
my previous job
because that's like saying, like, I had a great time playing video games as opposed to, like, getting my butt numbed on every single day.
Kind of
mileage may vary there.
Playing some of these. Yeah.
People have varying reactions to the butt numbed.
I feel really bad for the Let's Players that get stuck in a genre and don't like it anymore. Like, I know a couple of guys...
Like all of them?
Well, there are a couple of guys that got really big on, like, DayZ, but DayZ hasn't changed in, like, fucking years. So it's like...
Yep.
I like
that's a title that still existed.
I actually wanted to bring up DayZ a while ago, so it's weird watching conversations loop back on each other. I was going to ask you guys on the topic of No Man's Sky about, like... What was a game that you got hyped for and was just this massive disappointment where not just like it was not just like surprised it was bad, but like, wow, this wasn't even the experience I thought it was going to be?
There's been plenty, but I seriously can't remember off the top of my head because I immediately forget about those games.
Okay, you mentioned Spore. That was one. 7 Days to Die. Bird and I played 7 Days to Die.
Oh, yeah, that was so
and it was the most hot garbage thing I've played in a long time.
It's like a weird, nightmarish, like, cobbled together Minecraft thing, isn't it? When you get down to it.
Yeah.
Like I saw Achievement Hunter playing a little bit. I'm like, this looks like it was not finished and was dumped in 2002. Like it looks like a weird Serious Sam mod or something with the visuals.
It's something like that.
It was so not fun. I preemptively had turned on creative mode. We got to our first house. It became nightfall. Zombies came in from outside, and I'm like, I already hate this game. Pulled out a chainsaw, murdered Bird, and then got bored, murdered myself, made a motorbike, drove back to where Bird was, murdered him again, got bored and quit, and went to bed.
Wow, sounds like
good
a
times.
fun experience.
Good times.
It was not great.
Like for me, it was.
Yeah, but at least we've experienced it. Now we know.
It's true. Yeah, and now we never need to think about the game again.
For me, it was DayZ, and it was around the time that it was relatively new still, and I was hearing stories about the cooperative experience of playing it and everything, and it sounded like this really cool concept. Like I was in the market for like reinventions of the MMO basically, and I was thinking like this would be like, this is a whole new perspective. Like instead of quests and leveling and classes and all the trappings of the usual stuff, it's just the MMO without MMORPG, of just like the concept of big multiplayer games applied in a new way. And I thought it was going to be this massive cooperative effort to try to survive in the zombie invasion. I imagine people like boarding up houses and covering each other's backs and scavenging for supplies and working together in a dangerous situation. But DayZ followed the path of every story about zombies ever, where the humans are actually the bad guys, because you log into that game and you just get shot. Like my experience back when during the first, like the big wave more or less of the hype around this game, because obviously it died down a lot now. Like I would log into the game
because it has aged,
and I had a
pretty
pistol.
badly.
I had a pistol and a can of beans, and I'm on the beach, and then I'm dead.
Yep.
Like I get sniped immediately by someone who presumably runs over to take my pistol and beans or something, or I'll try to be stealthy about it and walk along the shoreline for a little bit, and then I'm dying of hypothermia, and then and you can walk for 20 minutes in a direction before you find anything, and then your reward for getting there is once again dying from someone you never even saw yet, and it's like it's such long stretches of just torture, and like nobody is out to work together or to communicate or to even like seemingly have a good time. It's just everyone is just there to get resources and just shoot everybody else on sight. And so like the experience is just bad. And that's before you get to the bigger problems too, of like the fact that like many like every single survival open world game I've ever played, it feels like a shitty Garry's Mod game where
exactly.
Like, all the models are garbage, and the game looks like shit, and nothing collides well, and like a zombie aggro's on you, and they seem to just chase you infinitely in any direction forever, making one growling noise over and over again. And when they hit you, they don't even seem to actually hit you, but you are dying anyway. And like that level of jank mixed with just the this oppressive experience of just like, I got shot again. That was fun. And it's like, wow, I was looking forward to like I don't know, fucking like Skyrim Left 4 Dead. Which would have been great. And that game doesn't exist, so maybe someone should make that game. But it wasn't DayZ, and that was my No Man's Sky. People are gonna have the No Man's Sky experience that's similar to my DayZ experience of like whatever their expectation was, maybe completely out of whack with the reality of it, whether that's anyone's fault or not. That's where that all tied in. Like why I was thinking about the disappointing game topic was because like that cemented in my brain of like, wow, I spent $30 on that because you had to buy Arma 2, a game no one's heard of until DayZ came out.
Yeah,
and has largely like I'm sure it has its little fan base of super intense people that love how incredibly pretty it is and everything, and that's fine.
Oh yeah, there are people that say like Arma 2 is like the best game ever made,
and cool on them. That's fine. That's cool, but man, like I bought that game with no intent of playing it, for the exact purpose of playing DayZ, and man, if that wasn't like the fastest turnaround of disappointment, and like in many ways probably the worst ratio I've ever had to some extent of like money spent on game to actual time spent before just giving up forever on even trying to enjoy it anymore.
Yeah, because Arma 2 was not exactly cheap either.
It was at least $30 at the time. And that was my experience. It was great.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's kind of how mine was too. Is like I played for probably about 2-3 hours and was like, wow, why did I do this? I should just watch someone play it.
And the thing. That's the trap. It's like for a while it was the jump scare games and the YouTube bait games, but another one is the open world survival games, where the best way to present that kind of content on YouTube for your channel is to record for like 4 hours and then turn that into like a 15-minute highlight video that tells a story. And those experiences condensed in that way seem really compelling, which then leads you into the trap of buying the game and then you get hit upside the face with the real experience of playing an open world survival game when you're expecting cool stuff to happen in those little 15-minute intervals, but you're actually just going to be playing for hours and hours, accomplishing very little. And maybe just
because every
dying.
time something happens, you just die.
Yeah.
Every time you run into somebody, it just dies.
It's just like it's so much time spent just grinding for some semblance of something, and then eventually you're like, I think I got something, and then the game's
and
like,
then you die, and somebody takes it away from you.
Yeah, then
it's
someone just takes
in Rust,
it away.
you spend 3 hours slowly putting together a shack with your friends and with some ramps and stuff like that. But the moment you walk into an open field, somebody snipes you with like a crossbow or a bow or whatever the hell, and then you wake up in the morning and your entire base has been nuked to oblivion by C4, except for like the beds or something. And it's like, why did we play this?
That sounds like the opposite of something I did. But yeah,
I really want to play Rust with us as like a large group and a bunch of fans. Throw us all in one server for one night, and then turn the server off and do that as like there's no like offline element to it. Like when we go to bed, it's all done, and
we just let the fans join it. Give them open reign. Like, you guys do whatever the fuck you want to this world.
Nothing can happen when you're not playing, basically.
Yeah. Because that would be entertaining for me. Of like, we're on for like 3 hours dicking around, and suddenly like fan group A decides to raid our base because of course everybody's going to know where we freaking live because we're streaming this. But obviously we're probably more organized and or have been cheating flagrantly, so we like fight them off, or maybe they kill Stainless and we're like, sayonara, friend, we will miss you, and so Stainless goes to live with the natives for a while. Like, I think that would be way more interesting than like the generic of join a public server, try and do it, get bored because somebody is a dillhole and already has stuff. Because this way we can control it so nobody, like, everybody's more or less on the same level, or we're slightly higher, but we're also stupid, so it doesn't matter. I think that would be a much better way of controlling it than, say, the usual of, man, this game sucks.
Yeah.
Kind of how Rust works.
I think the only fun I ever had in Rust was like running a shop. Like, that was the only fun I had.
You could run a shop in Rust?
You can do anything in those games.
You could do anything in that game.
It has voice chat and an inventory.
You just kind of like went for it. It wasn't like...
I built it because there's like, I joined a server and there are two warring factions and they're like, you need to join either side. And I was like, nah, fuck that. So I built a shop in the middle of the halfway point between both bases. And I was
you were a mercenary, basically?
I mean, the
fact that arms dealer.
The idea that you can just do whatever you want is the entire premise of like Argyle Alligator's channel.
So I was like, hey, I own a bunch of weapons and I have a bunch of stuff. You need weapons for your big fight? Come over to Andrew's fucking shop. And so people would come over, buy shit, blah, blah, blah. And so one day, what I would do is every night I would take all my stuff and put it behind this rock that you couldn't get to unless you like had to glitch your character weirdly. And so just in case someone came by and burnt my shop down, I'd be like, oh, you can't get my stuff though. And so I came back and it was fine for about a week. And I came back one day and someone had just completely burnt my shit down. And instead, someone built another shop on top of it and was like, hey, I'm the new shop guy now. And I was like, no, I don't think that's how it works, man. So I burnt his house down, and he was like one of the faction
a nice
people.
turf war.
Yeah, but I found out he was one of the faction people who was trying to run a shop to trick the other people to come in so he could kill them.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, fuck. And so the faction was like, oh, I guess you're on the other side now. And I was like, I'm not on anybody's side. I'm just a shopkeep, and you burnt my shop down, and I'm not happy about it. And so what I did is I was like, fine, you know what? Fuck it. I'll prove this to you. So I waited until like 4 a.m. Everyone was offline. I went to my secret stash, grabbed all of my C4 and blew up all the buildings on either side. And then, and then I built my shop back up and then was just sitting there waiting until morning arrived. They logged back on and everyone was like, what the fuck? Who could have done this? And it's like, Andrew still got his shop. Andrew still got his shop. You need weapons? They're all here. It was
in real life that would be incredibly criminal.
Well, it's also incredibly criminal to burn an innocent person's shop down and then try to fucking.
Bird, that's the weirdest response to a video game to say.
Yeah,
that'd be so criminal in real life.
That's true. It is a game about like murdering everybody.
In the context of like what game would you not be able to say that?
It's like a game where you start as a caveman and learn how to build submachine guns.
I mean, we don't have building permits in Factorio. You're destroying the ecology.
That's a good point. We do need to
in our current
probably run this by.
in our current Factorio playthrough, we're those guys that broke into that one endangered species pool and puked in it.
I mean, in fairness,
oh,
though,
Nevada.
in fairness, the enemy, like the Earth or the planet, is attacking you back in response. So
just start shooting the ground.
Well, no, I'm saying, did you turn off enemies?
Fuck you, Earth.
No, we didn't turn off enemies.
We turned off
There's a horrifying amount of enemies, actually, because there's
I mean,
the entire
you're
radius
being
around
punished.
us is bad things.
Keith, you need to play Scrap Mechanic while we play while we do podcasts, because I think it makes everything a little bit more tolerable. I made a car that waves at you as you drive.
Oh my god. Alright, so we're probably calling it here.